Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. A little bit tired today. Got home late last night from Memphis. Had to get up early, do some radio, all that good stuff. But here we are. Good news is we're able to put another win on the record. Wasn't the best of times for a while. An eventful game, to say the least. Chris Lemonis ejected. I did the math. 177 games as the Mississippi State skipper. First ejection. It was warranted. I thought that the officiating was decent. Maybe the first three innings, and then the strike zone got to be a bit of a moving target. Of course, that issue was, in the top of the fifth. State has a check swing not go their way. It was debatable, to say the least. And then there is the check swing from Ben Brooks that was not debatable. He clearly broke the plane, and really the bat head's out in front of the plate. They appeal, as Logan Tanner should. And the first base umpire is kind of like, I think he's safe. That run comes around to score eventually. But before it did, Chris Lemonis lost it. I have no clue what Chris said, so that's the disclaimer. I don't know. He may have said something inappropriate. I don't know. Could have. Next thing I know, he is ejected and then storms onto the field. Had to be somewhat restrained. Didn't have to be held back, but a couple of officials kind of between him and the first place umpire. And next thing I know, Chris's hat is on the ground. He's thrown his hat. I haven't thrown my hat on the ground in a long time. But if you know Chris Lemonis, many of you have had some interactions with him. It's a little bit out of character for Chris. Not to say that he doesn't chirp from the top step of the dugout from time to time. He does. That was a different deal. Now, was it theater to motivate his team? Maybe. Was Chris just clearly frustrated with the evening and the officiating? Maybe. It's a combination of both. I don't know. But a lot changed after the ejection. The strike zone got better. The pitching from the Bulldogs got better. Baseball got better. All that's exciting to me. So whatever motivation there was for Chris Lemonis to have that emotional outburst, the end result ended up being good for Mississippi State. I'm not saying we had to get ejected every game. The truth of the matter is we had to show up at the ballpark ready to go. One of the things, the first 5 innings, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, and I love Mississippi State baseball, and I feel like that I'm somewhat invested, probably more invested than most, in Mississippi State baseball. But I thought, we've had lineups in the past, and it's like, hey, I understand their midweek starter is good, but we should be able to hit everybody. And I don't think that my expectations are unrealistic. We should show up at the ballpark knowing we could hit anybody. And then not only know it, but do it. And it took a while to get us going. And ultimately we did. We took over that ball game and outscored them 10-0 the rest of the way. We got to get better starts. And I don't know where that begins. I don't know if that's in Jake and his pregame, hitting meeting. I don't know if maybe perhaps at times that we think maybe we're just too good to go play with a team like Memphis. I don't know. But it's clearly something that we got to do a little differently. I remember last year when we were at South Carolina at Founders Park, a fantastic venue for college baseball. I thought our attack offensively was as good as it has ever been. You kind of saw it happen against Kumar Rock or two against Vanderbilt. We had a plan, and we executed it to perfection. And next thing you know, everybody else is scuffling like, what do we do? I think sometimes we try to do a little too much at the plate. We do take some selfish swings. We do. And if you're ever near me in the press box, you'll hear me say that. There are times that we don't necessarily play team baseball. And we're going to have to. We got to get it going, for sure. I love this team. I love the outlook for this team. And I thought last night was a step forward. It wasn't for 5 innings. But the second half of that ball game, we played like the more dominant team in every aspect, every single aspect, and kind of lost in all of the discussion today about last night's game is how well the bullpen pitched. In middle relief, we were kind of just okay. But the back half of that game, we were absolutely outstanding. Mikey Tepper, Jackson Fristow, arguably their best two outings of the season. Tepper gets a win, Fristow gets a save. That's encouraging to see. Now, we got to be more consistent with it. You can't keep people off the fastball if you can't throw the breaking ball and change up for strikes. And that's kind of where we are. These are Division I hitters you're facing. And there's one of the things, too, sometimes I think that, our fans still have kind of a football mentality when it comes to baseball. We think, hey, we should be able to run these guys off the field. It doesn't always work that way in baseball. It just doesn't. It's a team game played by individuals. It's not like football or basketball, where you can have the collective effort, where you just kind of elevate everybody around you. At some point, the game finds you. You got an inferior defender, it seems like the ball's always headed his way. You got a guy that can't hit the breaking ball, it's all he sees. So you got to do your individual part to move the team forward. It is a different game. And I don't know if you noticed, there were some familiar names on that Memphis squad. Some players that we've played against before and some players that we recruited, maybe we didn't offer. But there are a lot of guys out there playing at that level that were marginal Mississippi State type recruits. And maybe it boiled down to a camp performance. Maybe there's two guys that came in that were kind of similarly situated from a skill set standpoint, and one outperformed the other, so one got the offer and one didn't. That's not to say you're playing up against a bunch of scrubs. There's not many players playing Division I baseball that don't deserve to be there. There are a few that make the jump and never develop. But by and large, when you go face a team like Memphis, especially in their own backyard, they're going to bring a good effort, and they did. And the good news is your Bulldogs rose to the occasion. You won the ball game. Let's thank our good friends at Bulldog Burger Company. I love them. They love me. They love you too. You will love them. If you have not experienced it, you should. If you have experienced, you know. Bulldog Burger Company is a fantastic place to dine. I am not overselling it. It is fabulous. An incredible menu. There's some new items coming. Matter of fact, I'll be tasting some of that soon. I've got to reach out and make an appointment. Some new items coming to the menu. That's one of the things I love about the Eat With Us group. It's never stale. They're always looking to improve. Always. And Bulldog Burger Company really rising among the ranks of the Mississippi restaurants to be able to go sit and eat and have a great time. You can have an adult beverage, have a night out with the guys or girls, have a family night. A lot of versatility there. You never feel uncomfortable there because there's always room for everybody. I love that place. You will too. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer. They'll make you better looking. They'll make everybody else around you better looking. It'll change the direction of your day by going to Bulldog Burger Company. Have the smokehouse, have the pimentology, add bacon. You can't go wrong. You go there for that great restaurant quality hamburger, you're always going to leave a winner. And maybe perhaps you're not in the mood for a hamburger. Maybe you want to eat a little fresh. Have that BLT salad. I like to get it grilled myself. You might like it fried. It's okay. I don't judge. 3 great locations to serve at University Drive here in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, and of course Lake Harbor Drive there in the Ridgeland-Flowood area. Central Mississippi has their own Bulldog Burger Company. Go check them out today. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. All right, let's recap the night that was there at Memphis. There are a couple of things I want to say too. I hate to be negative. Sometimes you can't help it. But there are a few things that I want to say. And guys, listen, everybody involved, I love you to death, I do. But AutoZone part, you got to do a better job. You got to do a better job. The baseball was good. The Memphis people, like the people that work for University of Memphis, very nice. The facility itself needs some work. The people that work there need some work. More to the point, they need some training. A lot of complaints from Bulldog fans about long concession lines, and they had employees there. It wasn't like you had 1 or 2 people trying to handle it. And the announced attendance was 4,525. I think that might be a bit generous. But I just didn't think from a fan experience, and certainly from a media experience, it was a great one. And I am pretty well traveled when it comes to college baseball. I've been a lot of places, seen a lot of things, ate a lot of nachos. But this wasn't it. I get ready to make up my list of favorite places to visit. AutoZone Park isn't going to be even in the top 50, probably. Now, the facility is nice. The amenities have gotten dated. And listen, that's on the Cardinals. But, as far as like having, some courtesy, as far as having some understanding, that's not something you can up or delegate. That's on you. That's on you. You don't want to do the job, let somebody else do it. Simple as that. I was very disappointed in that aspect of it. Disappointed Mississippi State's hitting for about 5 innings too. But there were many of you, and I heard you, and I saw it, and I experienced it myself. It was not a great experience in that respect. The baseball, we get the result we wanted in the end. But I didn't think, from a fan experience, like if there were a lot of people saying, hey, yeah, absolutely, let's go there. When we go to Pearl, it's not always perfect. It's not. But it's good. I enjoy going down to Pearl. I think they do a great job at Trustmark Park. They do. Everybody I meet is always like, hey, nice to see you. I remember when we went down to St. Petersburg for the St. Petersburg Bowl. Remember that? That was in Tropicana Fieldhouse. I've been there before. Matter of fact, my oldest son, Ani, fought in a Taekwondo tournament in Tropicana Fieldhouse. Pretty cool. But when we were leaving Tropicana Fieldhouse, every single employee that I passed said, thanks for coming. Be careful going home. Hope you had a good time. Hope you had a good day. If there's everything we can do to help you, let us know. They kind of set a standard. And so when I go other places and I don't get treated that way, I kind of remember that. It's like, sure wish there's people from Tropicana Fieldhouse were here. It's like when you go to Duty Noble Field, and I'm not going to say we're perfect either. We're not. And maybe it's because I'm so familiar to people, but every time I pass those event management people, everybody speaks to me. They're nice. They're courteous. If I have a question, they try to answer it. They don't look at me with this deer in the headlights look and think like, oh, well, I don't know. Go ask somebody else. There are sometimes I go places, and like Memphis is a good example, and I like Memphis. I'm not down on Memphis like some other people are. I mean, I've had some good times in Memphis. Last night, from that aspect, wasn't one of them. I was just waiting when I had a question, somebody say, hey, here's what you do. Walk down there, stop and ask somebody else. I was just waiting for that to happen. This way, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And we need to play up there. We do. We need to play up there at AutoZone Park. It is a recruiting hotbed for us. We have a lot of players up there in extreme, northwest Mississippi and, of course, in the Memphis area that we're going to be recruiting. We got to take a show on the road, make the Bulldogs available to them. Cameron James hits a home run last night in front of a lot of people that don't always get to see him play. It's a pretty cool thing. And so we got to make this work. And I've actually communicated my concerns to, I think, the people that matter and said, hey, here's what I experienced, And I'm not going to sit here and be the overprivileged sports writer. But when I begin to see that you guys had some of the same issues that I had, I think that needs to be communicated. And not that we're a bunch of Karens. We're not, all due respect to the Karens out there. We just want to go watch a ball game and have a good time. We just want to be able to go to the concession stand and be able to get food in a timely manner and get back to our seat and not have to miss any of the ball game. Sometimes that's unrealistic. I get it. But last night was not a good job. Now I've said it. Let's get to the ball game. All right. So Mississippi State starts Brandon Smith. We immediately kind of get ourselves in a little trouble. But we threatened in the top half of the first two, and I thought we were going to get to Gartman. We get a fly out. Davis actually hits the ball pretty well on the nose, just kind of lines it out to left. The ball stayed up, which surprised me a little bit. I thought the ball traveled pretty well last night. Lines it out to left. Looks like it's going to drop. It doesn't. Nice play by their left fielder there. Well, then Cam James walks. Hancock is hit by the pitch. Now you got runners at first and second. And then LT pops up, to the catcher on the first pitch. Now, this is one of those situations, too. As a former hitting coach, kind of drives me crazy. And I get it. This guy's hitting cleanup for a reason, right? He's not hitting cleanup just because you want him to work the count, get a lot of pitches, and take walks. That happens from time to time, and that's part of moving the lineup along. But when we've had a guy that we've already had a 5-pitch walk, and then he's struggled with control, and he hits the next guy, I think maybe I'm taking a pitch here. That's just me. Now, granted, LT is a star, but I'm probably taking a pitch here. Instead, we pop up behind the mound. And, of course, he had some big swings later. I'm not down on LT. I love LT. I think LT's going to be a first or second round draft pick. But this, we didn't come through here. And then Heinz strikes out swinging on 3 pitches. And so we have 2 guys on that were gifted 2 runners in the first, and we don't even move them. We don't even advance them a base. And so that kind of set the tone for the early part of this ball game. When you got a guy on the hook early, you got to find a way to get that big hit, get some juice, get some momentum, put the pressure on them. Baseball is a pressure game. I think people don't always appreciate that because it moves at such a slow pace. But baseball is all about pressure. Bottom of first, we do some things to kind of help them get going too. And so we get a ground ball out the short, and we throw high to first. Luke does the best he can to get up and just can't get down in time to record the out there. So an E6 on Tanner Leggett. Ben Brooks in singles to the left side on an 0-2 count. We just catch too much of the plate here. It's an 0-2 count. You got a called strike, you get back-to-back fouls, and then we just catch too much of the plate. I mean, I'm going to make him hit my pitch. And listen, from where I was sitting, it looked like it was just too close to the plate. And what does he do? He lines it in the left. Their best hitter, Kohler, a lot of people think this guy is going to be drafted, middle rounds, and high enough to go, certainly. But we strike out swinging, and what an at-bat it was. It goes 11 pitches here, and then Brandon wins it, on a strikeout. Really great job there. So you get a non-productive out, which keeps the runners there. And then right behind that, we hit Brooks. Maybe my notes are wrong here. But we hit Booth. Yeah, we hit Booth here. And that loads the bases. So now the bases are loaded with less than 2 outs. You'd think we're certainly going to give up a run. But we didn't. Brandon bears down, gets a huge punch out of Compton. And then we get Bibaloni to roll out to first. He throws to Brandon, and there we go. So we navigate through that storm, but I didn't like it. I felt we were all over the place. There's a lot here in this first inning, and granted, it is the first inning. You're trying to settle into the ball game, but you get an error, you miss on a location, you hit a guy. Those are the things you do that cost you ball games. Top of second, we go 1-2-3. Clark rolls over 1 to first. Kumba strikes out swinging. Yeager flies out to center. Last week it was these guys were kind of carrying us a little bit. Last couple ball games hadn't really been the case. Looking for those guys to kind of turn it around this weekend at Arkansas. Brandon, good job there in the second. We were told he was probably going to go 2, maybe 3 innings, but likely 2, and he ends up staying 3. But in the second, really good job for him. 1-2-3 inning, a K swinging, ground out to third, and we pop up out the short. So we get off the field. Both teams threatened in the first, neither did in the second. Top of third, Leggett lines out to right. Again, similar situation to the Davis hit. This is hit really well. It struck really well. It just happened to stay up. I didn't think it was going to. It did. And a nice play, sliding grab up there if I remember correctly. And then Jess Davis walks. Cam strikes out looking. I didn't think the call was especially good, but it's too close to take on 2 strikes. Hancock then grounds out to first, and the Bulldog side is retired. Bottom of 3, they get right to work. Daniels doubles to left center. Then there is a single from Ben Brooks to right field that puts runners on the corners with nobody out. Kohler then grounds out and gets the run in. So it's a 1-0 ball game for Memphis. They bring in Braden Webb. Maybe familiar with him. He pinch hits for Booth. Booth got plunked, in that first inning and just wasn't able to continue. Takes it on the wrist, and then as the game kind of wore on, they decided to pull him from the ball game. Hope that he is okay. You hate to see that. You really do. And then Brandon Webb hits into the double play. So we're out of the inning there. Again, we give up some damage here, but we mitigate that by getting the double play here. So great job there by the middle infielders to turn this. And again, you navigate through that, and you feel pretty good about where you are. You just need to find a way to get some runs on the board. It's a 1-0 ball game, top of 4. They bring in Brennan Dubose, who was the backup catcher. And I thought then, this may be an opportunity for us to run the bases a little bit. The problem was we couldn't get guys on base. Tanner strikes out swinging, Heinz grounds out to third, and then Clark flies out to center field. And again, a ball pretty well struck there. And you go back to that R.J. Yeager stroke. R.J. Yeager, that ball is robbed of a home run. If that ball is hit to the left 2 feet, it's a home run. R.J., 10 more push-ups, and it's a home run too. All right, bottom of 4, we bring in Casey Hunt. First time he has pitched since opening weekend, and share with you guys on the show too. We don't need to expect too much right away. Kind of work him back. I'd heard a couple of weeks ago that he should be good to go for the Arkansas series. Not that we're going to we're definitely going to pitch him, but he should be available, and he gets an inning of work and actually does a really good job. I thought he overthrew a little bit, but he really attacked Compton. You get a called strike, you get a foul, and then we get the fly out there. But the ball was hit pretty well. They barreled it up pretty good. And then Bibiloni flies out to right. You're thinking, okay, we'll get out of this. Of course, we'd gotten behind the hitter there and had to throw a predictable pitch. But he flies out to right. So quickly, there's 2 outs. Both balls hit pretty well, but not enough to really make you a little bit nervous. But you'd like to see him get under some barrels a little bit and get more ground balls or get a little softer contact. Well, then Swanberg singles to right. We walk Baskin after a full count, and then Z. Wilson just absolutely murders a ball in the right center. And so I go back to these earlier at-bats in the inning against Hunt. Same situation. 3 guys in the inning barrel him up. Somebody just finally finds a gap here. And listen, I love Callum Clark to death. He's not the fleetest of foot. And so him having to play that ball to his right is tough. That's why I think Jess Davis is so important for us in center. Even though he could run this ball down, that guy's got elite speed. But now it's a 3-0 ball game. We get Daniels to fly out. But again, a lot of contact in this inning from Memphis against Hunt. And we're going to be patient with him. I mean, I absolutely are. I mean, he's working his way back. And could be big for us down the stretch. Really, really could be. All right, they bring in J.T. Durham in place of Gartman. Left-handed here. And he goes right after our guys. Again, a 1-2-3 inning. Cumbus K swinging. Yeager grounds out to third. And Leggett flies out to left. And so through 5 turns at bat, Mississippi State has not netted a hit. Not a ton of strikeouts, but I won't say we had a lot of at bats that weren't competitive. We just weren't getting anything to fall. And our body language was not good. It wasn't. It was almost like we thought, well, we'll show up with them over us on our cap, and they will say, you know what, these guys are national champs. We need to lose this game because they're better than us. I don't think Memphis showed us any respect, and I don't blame them. You come into my yards, you better be ready to play ball. And so give them credit for kind of taking the fight to us the first half of this ball game. And again, the check swing here was just not good.
Bulldog fans, are you like me? There are just not enough hours in the day. I'm getting older, but I really don't want to slow down. But, that's the reality of life. It's a shame we got to get old. But I'm getting there, for sure. And I'm busier than I've ever been. I got book signings to do. I got shows to record. I got ball games to cover. There are more demands on my time than ever. And I'll be honest with you, my energy needed to keep up sometimes wanes. That's why I take M-Drive Start. M-Drive Start is a premium protein powder packed with 7 clinically tested ingredients that support energy, strength, and drive, and 6 premium protein sources for optimal recovery and digestion. Every year it becomes more obvious we're getting older. That doesn't necessarily mean we want to reduce our quality of life. So prioritize the need to take care of your own health. M-Drive is a supplement for every lifestyle and every stage of life. Makes it easy for guys like me and you to take care of our health. You get M-Drive Start at mdriveformen.com. That's mdriveformen.com. And use coupon code Boneyard for 10% off your first order of M-Drive. You get free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Again, that's M-Drive Start at mdriveformen.com. Promo code Boneyard.
All right, bottom of 5, we bring in Drew Talley. And Drew has not been on the mound, since, the incident that some of you got so upset about. We had some people clutching their pearls because Chris Lemonis used some colorful language. And Drew Talley understands. Drew Talley, I thought, responded pretty well in this inning, despite the fact that things didn't necessarily go his way. Still not missing enough bats for me, though. But we walk Brooks, and this is the walk that set it all off. We get ahead 0-2 here, and we tried to get him a chase on a couple, and I really thought ball 1 and ball 2 were really not competitive. I mean, we're talking a foot and a half off the plate. Nobody's going to swing at that. It's not going to happen. Don't want to catch too much of the play, but I got to get him something that at least starts in the zone and creeps out and try to get a swing and miss here. Well, we don't. We do make a great pitch on the full count here. and we get a check swing where the bat clears the plate and we don't get a call, and then Lemonis loses it. Absolutely loses it. I thought the ejection was warranted. I thought Chris's behavior was warranted, and I thought it was an important moment in this ball game, and Mississippi State really responded. Cullerton flies out to right, a nice non-productive out there. Then we give up. Brennan Dubose gets a single through the right side, and it was a nice little hit and run play there. You don't see that as much anymore. I love the hit and run, especially when you got a guy who can handle the bat. And maybe it's what we need to do to get Luke Hancock going. But Dubose singles to the right side. Now all of a sudden there's runners at first and third with just a one out. And then Compton comes through with a single to the right side, and the run scores. Bibelarni then flies out. Swanberg grounds out to third. It's a 4-0 ball game. And, of course, the run that scores was the runner that should have never been. How many times we talk about leadoff walks, how that gets you? You got to go out there and compete. Now, that said, you got to hope you can get a call too. It can't just be about you. I mean, the integrity of the game suggests, when you get a check swing, that first place umpire is there for the appeal, and it's like he wasn't even paying attention. And then he kind of sheepishly is like, yeah, I think he was safe. Listen, make a call. Pay attention. You're getting paid good money to be there. And that's one thing, too, that infuriates me. It really does. We're not similarly situated. I get it. There has to be a hierarchy in life. There has to be people that are in charge to facilitate the game and ensure that the rules of play are enforced. But you got to have you got to keep your head in the game. It's like we say, well, these guys are human. Okay, so we're going to excuse them for being human, but then it's not human for Chris Lemonis to have a human reaction to what he feels like is a bad call and his team is getting jobbed. He's got to defend his team. So what's his name, Tim Pittman? If Tim Pittman at first is human, so is Chris Lemonis. Now, you may not agree with Chris throwing the temper tantrum he did, but a lot of that happened after he was ejected. It's like, hey, if I'm getting thrown out, I'm going to get my money's worth, and that's what happened. Again, I don't know what was said, but it was a terrible call, and you got to be able to let a guy react. You going to throw a guy out for something that he said? Give me a break. And then Chris goes out there and gets his money's worth, and I think at that point it gave him an excuse to wage war, as I mentioned in my column this morning. I think once it happens, you're like, hey, well, let me get the greatest benefit from this I can. But it cost us a run. Fortunately, it didn't cost us a ball game. And the good thing is Mississippi State went right back to work. Mississippi State responded. And they should have been angry. I was angry. You were angry. Chris Lemonis is angry. And the people that need to be angry and focused are the guys out there swinging the bats. That's exactly what happened. Jess Davis works for a leadoff walk there. I really like him in the leadoff spot. I really do. I really do. And I understand his splits against lefties aren't very good. But I think Jess is an elite defender, as the Golden Glove will demonstrate. But also, too, I think Jess is really good at the plate working counts. Does a good job of fouling pitches off that he can't necessarily handle to kind of move the count along a little bit. And then Cam James steps up. Very first pitch he sees is over the wall and left. It was a majestic home run. And before the ball left the yard, your Bulldogs go pouring out of the dugout. At that point, I felt in my heart, we're going to win this game. Because after everything that has happened, we've been scuffing along. We hadn't been playing well. We made a couple of errors. We walked a couple of guys we shouldn't. Didn't get a call or two. Maybe we're feeling sorry for ourselves a little bit. Things changed with that swing. Everything changed. Everything. Hancock strikes out swinging, and really a good pitch there on 1-2. Really tied Luke up, and you don't see that happen very often. LT steps up, fouls one straight back, and then he hits a tank out there to left, and I think his actually traveled farther than Cam's did. So now it's a 4-3 ball game. And at this point, even though Memphis had the lead, the game was over. They just didn't know it yet. Heinz then walks. Clark walks. And again, a chance for us to really get the big hit here and move it along. They bring in Chase Kessinger from Oxford, Mississippi as a relief pitcher. Cumbus hits a ball back to the middle. It is misplayed by the shortstop. He never got his glove down. I know some people would say we didn't touch it. It shouldn't be an error. It's a fairly routine play. You got to make that play. The ball rolls through. Now it's a tie ball game. Then there's a wild pitch. And we score again. Now it's a 5-4 ball game. Mississippi State has the lead. All right, and then Yeager grounds to short, and Cumbus scores. And again, nice job here of putting the ball in play. Less than 2 outs. You got a runner at third. You got to find a way to get him home. You got to put the ball in play. Don't have to have a home run. Don't have to have a gapper. Give me a ball. Give me a ground ball somewhere. Let me get the guy home. Either elevate one so I can tag and score, or give me a ground ball so we can go on contact. That's exactly what happens. So State explodes for 6 runs in the inning. The inning ends, or the half ends, with Tanner Leggett grounding out to third. But again, you look at this too, and this is the thing I go back to. Luke strikes out swinging. Everybody else puts the ball in play. Everybody else in the inning puts the ball in play. Everybody else that swung the bat put it in play. 2 home runs in the inning. And, of course, Cumbus puts the ball in play. And that's what happens. You hit the ball hard somewhere. You never know what's going to happen. Even our outs, Yeager and Leggett, they put the ball in play. And you get a productive out from Yeager. So a very good inning offensively from Mississippi State, to say the least. It is now 6-4. And it just felt like, even though we've had all these bullpen issues, it just kind of felt like, you know what, this game is over because the Bulldogs are mad. Mikey Tepper comes in, and last time he was out there, did not have a good outing. Really good outing this time. Strikeout swinging, then we get a fly out to center, and then we get a walk. And again, I thought we got squeezed a little bit there, but Mikey gets behind in the count and then starts peppering that fastball in there. Next thing you know, it's a 2-2 count. We just couldn't finish the hitter. And then we get Ben Brooks, the guy that started all the hubris, to strike out swinging. And a guy that had a good ball game against us, too. We had a tough time keeping him off the bases. We do here. Get the top of 7, and again, State tacks on. What do good teams do when they get a lead? They finish. We finished last night in every aspect of the game, offensively, defensively, and on the mound. Jeff Davis flies out to center field, then Cam James rips a single back up the middle, nearly hit the pitcher. Then Hancock walks on 4 pitches. We run a double steal there, and if memory serves me correct, it was an 0-2 count. Not always the best count to run on, right? One thing, especially if you've picked up a pattern with them wasting pitches, depending on what you see, if it's going to be a breaking ball down, maybe it's a good one to go on. If it's a fastball away, maybe it's not. But we do. We run the bases here, and what I felt here is we're trying to finish the game. We're attacking. It is a 6-4 lead, but we're not content to be up 6-4. LT strikes out swinging, lengthy at bat here, though. Fouled off a handful of pitches. Well, then Heinz walks, and so here we are, bases loaded, a chance to really blow this thing open. We don't get the timely hit. They hit Kellum Clark. I would love to have seen him have a chance to swing, but they gift us the run here, 7-4. And again, it's about pressure. It's about pressure. You get guys on, you steal, you remove the double play possibility, and what does he do? All of a sudden, he loses the zone, and he walks Heinz and hits Clark. Now it's a 7-4 ball game. Cumbus then grounds out to second, and they force the runner. Or they ground out to short, and they force the runner at second. And so then another great part of this story is we bring in Jackson Fristow. Now, Jackson got a win over the weekend and did not pitch well, even though we got the win. He just happened to be the pitcher of record when State mounted a big comeback. So he's credited with a win, and he'll tell you he didn't pitch well. He pitched really well last night. Didn't get off to the best start. Kohler, their best hitter, of course, works the count a little bit and is able to get a single to center field. And then we walk Dubose on 4 pitches. And right there I'm thinking, man, this isn't going to end well for us. Jackson, get it together. Well, Foxhall walks out there, and I don't know what he said. Now, Fristow says he told him, hey, I need you to finish this thing. Let's finish this thing. But whatever Foxhall said, I don't know if he went out there and, uttered a psalm or whatever. I don't know. He may have went out there and shared some Motley Crue lyrics for all I know. But whatever he did, it worked. Because from here on out, Jackson Fristow dominated this baseball game. You get a punch out of Compton, Case swinging on 3 pitches. You get Bibiloni to fly out to center field, the runner tags and takes third. And then we get Swanberg to pop up to short. And now all of a sudden we've navigated through this. We have kind of pitched ourselves into some trouble. We pitch our way out of it. Top of 8, State does what good teams do. You begin to continue to expand the lead. It is a 7-4 ball game when we begin the inning. It is not when we end it. Yeager then singles through the left side. An incredible bunt from Tanner Leggett. I think we have 2 base hits off bunts this year, both of them from Tanner Leggett. And that's a weapon sometimes I don't know that we fully utilize. I know some of you guys are anti-bunt. I am very pro-bunt. I don't want to bunt for the sake of bunting, but when you've got a third baseman playing behind the bag and you got a first baseman that's got to hold a runner, you're basically dependent on a pitcher to make the play here, and you've got a guy that can lay it down and give him some difficult angles to work with. It makes sense to use that as an offensive weapon. That's exactly what happens here. Leg lays down a near perfect bunt there. Now all of a sudden you got runners at first and second. I'm almost wishing we could bunt again. Von Siebert pinch hits for Jess Davis, and then lo and behold, he singles right back up the middle, and the run is home. It's 8-4. Now you got runners on the corners with nobody out. Cam James then flies out to center, and what? Leg tags and scores. All of a sudden, life is good. It's a 9-4 ball game. Hancock then reaches on an error by the shortstop. Ball hit back towards the middle, and he just didn't make the play. Skinner goes to third. And then ball in the dirt. Luke didn't read it well. It just, you see it in the dirt and you take off, especially with the runner at third. You feel like you've got a little security here. Kind of got a bad break. It rolls out in front of the plate. An easy play for the catcher. And, of course, he's making that play going towards second. And so Luke has gone down there. And then they walk LT on 4 pitches. They make a pitching change here. And then there's the wild pitch there, and Skinner scores again. I mean, how many wild pitches is Braylon Skinner going to score on this year? It seems like it happens all the time. Now it's a 10-4 ball game. They walk Heinz, and again, we got runners on here. A chance for us to really put this thing away. Works out okay. Clark pops up to the shortstop, but it's 10-4. We bring Fristow back out for the 8th. An incredibly efficient inning here for him. 2-pitch at bat for Baskin, fly out to center. 2-pitch at bat for Zach Wilson, fly out to left field. And then we get a case swinging on a 5-pitch at bat for Daniels. Outstanding inning from Jackson Fristow. Top of 9, we come out. And again, we get runners on. Cumbus flies out to center. Yeager walks. Leggett strikes out swinging. And then Skinner reaches on a fielder's choice. They force him second to short there at second base. We bring Fristow out for the 9th. And he was outstanding. Again, absolutely outstanding. You get Brooks to fly out to the catcher, He popped up, and LT's able to get under it. Kohler strikes out swinging, and then Dubose strikes out swinging, and that's it. And I can tell you in post-game media, Jackson Fristow was incredibly fired up. Like if you touch him, you might have been slain in a spirit or something. He had a different look, and confidence is a difficult thing to beat. It's a difficult thing to establish. It's also a difficult thing to defeat. And that's what Jackson Fristow needs. And Mikey Tepper with a good outing. You get Casey Hunt going, all of a sudden you start beginning to see this bullpen take shape. You know what you've got in Brooks Auger. Well, we need some guys to step up. Last night they did. All right, real quickly, let's look at the box score here. Cam James, 2 for 3 with 3 RBI and a couple runs scored. Really nice game for him. Kind of a homecoming. Probably the last time he'll ever play. In a Mississippi State uniform in that venue. A 1 for 4 night for LT, of course, the solo home run, big deal there. Hunter Heinz, 0 for 2, but had 3 walks. You like to see a young guy being patient. Don't get yourself out. He didn't do that. Kellum Clark, 0 for 3 on the night, did have an RBI and a walk, and that's the hit by pitch. Not a good night for Brad Cumbus, 0 for 5, but Brad's going to be fine. Brad's kind of streaky. Sometimes next thing you know, you look up and Brad's leading the team in hitting again. RJ, 1 for 4, and Tanner Leggett, 1 for 5. So, again, just 6 hits on the night for Mississippi State. Just very efficient in their work, scoring 10 runs on the 6 hits. And, of course, Memphis pitching helped us a little bit late. They were shook. Now, and I understand, too, that their Wednesday game with Ole Miss has been canceled due to the threat of inclement weather. So they pitched a lot of guys last night. And once we got into the bullpen, we hit them all. We absolutely hit them all. And did a good job. I guess that 9th inning we didn't hit Jackson Lions. But you understand my point. We get the starter out of the ball game, and then we rock their reliever. Chase Kessinger really struggled. Jacob Gilmore was a guy, too, that struggled to find his own. So a good job. But on the other side of things, Brandon Smith works 3 innings, gives up 3 hits and then the 1 run, 3 Ks. 55 pitches for Brandon. Probably could use him for an inning or so this weekend. I don't think you see multiple appearances from him, though. Casey Hunt, just the 1 inning of work, 2 hits, 2 runs, and the walk. And again, my concern from that is they made so much solid contact. And again, you can't be too critical of the kid just coming back. It's his first appearance since coming off the DL, and he'll get it going. The guy has a lot of swing and miss stuff in his arsenal, and he'll harness that. Just got to get him out there, let him face some live hitting. He'll be good. Drew Talley, Again, he's the pitcher on the mound when all that craziness happens, and does a pretty good job maintaining some composure here. But 1 inning pitch, the 2 hits, and then the 1 run. Of course, the run, the walk that caused the ejection. And then Mikey Tepper, a clean sheet for him for the most part. 1 inning of work, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 2 Ks. And then Jackson Fristoe, outstanding, absolutely outstanding. In fact, we're going to award Jackson Fristoe our Prime Shrimp Player of the Game award. How about that? You guys love Prime Shrimp. I'm getting so many great reviews from some of our Boneyard listeners and our Genes page subscribers. They say, hey, I wasn't sure what to expect. I've tried Prime Shrimp. I love it, man. We've reordered already. You should too. I'm proud to partner with those guys. Great people doing a great job. A New Orleans-based shrimp company that always brings you delicious food directly to your door. And that's the thing. It's so hard to find good shrimp at times. Let's get some down there from a New Orleans-based company. They know shrimp down in South Louisiana. They've been pilling shrimp, Prime Shrimp, my friends there have been pilling shrimp in the New Orleans area since the 1940s. They have new products all the time. You can have the Simply Seasoned. You can have the French Quarter Alfredo. You can have that Louisiana Crab Bowl. You'll be glad you did. The cool thing is no peeling, no deveining, no messy prep, no messy cleanup. You boil the pot of water, give it 10 minutes, cut open that pouch, drop the shrimp in, throw the pouch away, eat the shrimp, boom, you're finished. I mean, right, one of the best things about shrimp is the taste. One of the worst things about it's the cleanup. It makes the house smell like, all the other shrimp stuff for like days at a time. You don't have that with this. It's very, very easy to do. You'll be so glad you used it. Go to primeshrimp.com, primeshrimp.com. Use promo code Boneyard to save a few bucks on your order, and you get a money-back guarantee. I mean, how many things in life are truly a money-back guarantee? And it's food. You can eat it, and if you don't like it, they'll give your money back. Pretty incredible. Again, that's primeshrimp.com. And so our Prime Shrimp Player of the Game is Jackson Fristoe. 3 innings of work, 1 hit, 1 walk, 4 Ks, and really settled himself after kind of getting himself into a little bit of trouble there. 32 pitches for him, 5 flyouts, faced 11 batters, and just really did a nice job. Got his first save, and he was outstanding in postgame. I mean, just outstanding. You could just see in his countenance that he's like, you know what, I'm back. And now it's about putting together some consistency, right? Now we've got to put together a couple of appearances. And listen, his stuff at times can be hittable. We see it. When he can't keep people off the fastball, they're going to hit the fastball. Everybody in Division I can hit a fastball. You got to be able to keep people off balance. And when Fristoe is at his best is when he can spot up that breaking ball for a called strike. But there we go. And we'll talk about Arkansas a little bit later in the week as we preview. Matter of fact, I will record the Friday show Thursday night, so you should have that Friday morning when you open up your applications. It should be there. We'll preview that because I'm going to get on the road as quickly as I can to get on up there and get settled, and, of course, head on over to the ball game. Now, Saturday, if you're in Fayetteville, you can see me. I will be signing books. I will be, and the books will be available for purchase at the event. There's always some questions about that. Anytime that I'm anywhere signing books, there are going to be people there selling books. So you guys can come get books. They will have everything. I'll probably bring some copies of Blooms of Oleander with me if I can remember. But they'll have all of my sports books there for purchase. And that's going to be Saturday. I'm going to get you the details here. You guys will be happy to know. Those of you that are making the trek to the game maybe hadn't had a chance to get your books. So that's going to be at Farrell's or Farrell's. I don't know how your pronunciation is there. That's 311 West Dixon Street in Fayetteville, Arkansas, from noon to 3, because it is a night game. So noon to 3, I'll be there, and you might even get to see my granddaughter. She might make an appearance there too. How about that? So we'll check you guys out again. That is Saturday with the MSU Alumni Association at Farrell's, 311 West Dixon Street, Fayetteville, Arkansas, noon to 3. All right, let's thank our good friend Blair Chandler at closeblair.com. It's good to have friends. It's good to have friends that have a little know-how too. It's one thing to have people that just kind of like you, but it's nice to have people around that when you have a need, you know some people that can help you get things taken care of. That's Blair Chandler. Go to closewithblair.com. He is my friend in the mortgage industry. Will do a great job for you because he's got the know-how to get it done. He has the want to and the know-how. It makes a big difference. There are a lot of people that want your business. Blair knows how to facilitate your business. 21 years of experience in the mortgage industry. Works at Fairway Mortgage, recently voted number 1 in customer satisfaction in mortgage lending. How cool is that? Number 2 in closed loan volume last year. These guys know how to get it done. They get your loan closed, make you happy at the same time. It's a very arduous process sometimes, very difficult. It's very tedious, very frustrating. It's good to have a mortgage professional. Go to closewithblair.com. That's C-L-O-S-E with Blair, B-L-A-I-R.com. And here's the deal, too. I'll give you his personal cell number. Because it's just us girls here, right? 601-500-2344. 601-500-2344. Give him a call or text today. If you mention to him that you heard about him on the Boneyard, he's going to pay for your appraisal. That is an incredible incentive. It's about a $500 value. It's one less thing you got to pay for. So whether you're looking to refi or you're looking to buy, Blair can get you taken care of. And if you're not ready now, he can put you on a path to get you ready. Again, that's the benefit of having 21 years of experience in a very complicated industry. All right, top 10 list. Roy joked with me earlier. He said, the good thing is that we've had kind of some depressing list. Today is not in tribute of anybody that has passed away or anything. It's just a good, great rock modern band. Maybe I said that in the wrong order. A great modern rock band. How about that? It's the band Seven Dust. Got about a dozen albums out. I'm going to rank their top 10 albums and give you my favorite song off each of these albums. I love Seven Dust, and I'll be honest with you, I was a little late to the Seven Dust train, but now that I am on it, I am up there in the engine room throwing fuel on the fire, man. I love Seven Dust. I love how big their sound is. There are a lot of these bands today that have this industrial sound, and I dig that too. But I like the fact that Seven Dust can pull it off live. They're not studio gangsters. They can show up and play. I've seen them several times. I've never been disappointed. I love LaJohn Witherspoon. I think he is a fantastic performer. Sometimes to get up there and even do the cha-cha for you, doing some Seven Dust songs. And Clint Lowry, the primary songwriter for Seven Dust, absolutely fantastic. Now, if you are a Seven Dust fan and you have not listened to Clint Lowry's solo album, God Bless the Renegades, let me encourage you to do so. I love that album. I love that title track. And of course, there's a lot of Seven Dust elements to it because he is kind of the guy behind Seven Dust in many respects. But if you don't know it, go check it out. Clint also a member of the recovery community. And if you don't follow Clint on social media, he posts a gratitude list every day. Every day. He'll list 3 or 4 things he's grateful for in his life. And I think, too, that's one of those things, I'm kind of inspired by that. I mean, I'm kind of a positive person by nature. But it makes me feel good and kind of convicts me at times when I'm feeling sorry for myself and say, you know what, I got a lot to be grateful for. I got a lot to be thankful for. And so even if you're not a person in recovery, it's good to have, write down a few things you're grateful for every day. And Clint does that regularly. He's very meticulous about it, and I do respect that about him, that he shares that with us. All the things in life, like talk about, I'm grateful to be home from the road, to be with my wife, my kids. I'm grateful to see my daughter do this. And it's like, there's this the fabric of our lives. It's like there's these little events that you have. You sit around and say, hey, well, nothing happened today, but sometimes those are the best days. Those are the days when something special happens. It may not be anything financial, but sometimes just making memories with your kids, like the best thing it's ever been. All right, so here we go. Top 10 Seven Dust albums, in my opinion, and then my favorite song from each of these albums. Number 10, I hate to say it like this, it's not really a least favorite. I just like some others more. I don't think Seven Dust has put out a bad album. Now, there's some things early on before they really kind of found their sound, where it's a little disjointed at times. But there are a lot of high points on those albums too. But number 10 for me is the album Blackout the Sun. I love this album. It is one of those albums I think you can just push play, whether you are a huge fan of the band or not. I think you'll enjoy the album. The track for me from that album was the lead single, Decay. I absolutely love that song. I think you will too. Number 9 from the album Alpha. This was really one of those albums too that got people said, these guys are for real. There are a lot of bands out there. They'll put out a nice debut album, and then they kind of just like go away from you here. Well, this was album number 6 for them. So it showed they had some staying power. It was number 6 on the U.S. rock charts. Pretty impressive too. Pretty impressive album. And this is when they really began to kind of come more mainstream. A lot of people kind of rejected the nu metal movement of the late 90s because that's really what dominated. When people think 90s music, immediately we go to 1991 and we all think grunge. That lasted like 15 minutes. Well, Seven Dust released their first album back in 1997. So they were kind of a post-grunge band and kind of rode the wave of change in many respects. But Seven Dust, unlike some of their contemporaries, had some real staying power. And I think the album Alpha is one of the reasons why. I think people said, you know what, these guys are not a flash in the pan. They're here to stay. So we're going to go with the track Driven from the Alpha album, number 9 on your list. Number 8 from the album Next, which is their 5th album released back in 2005, reached the top 20 on the U.S. charts. And again, you're starting to see these guys kind of find their sound and kind of refine things. We went with the track Ugly. Again, I love it. Absolutely love it. Number 8, Ugly from the album Next. Number 7, this is without a doubt one of my favorite songs from Seven Dust. There are some days it is my favorite. There's sometimes you're just in the mood, right? So we're going to go to Chapter 7, which is the 7th album, ironically enough, Hope and Sorrow. This is one of those albums, too. There is a lot of, shall we say, variance on the album. You know, there are some albums you listen to from some bands and everything kind of sounds the same. This one has a lot of range. And it was number 9 on the U.S. rock charts, a great album. But here's a pop from Elephant Gun. It's Prodigal Son. I absolutely love this song. I love how thick the bass is. It is so incredible. Number 6, and I have absolutely rocked this song a lot here as of late. There's sometimes you think, hey, this would be my theme song or whatever. Like if I had entrance music wherever I went, this is the song that I would use. This is one of those that is like always in my thoughts. Like if I'm ever introduced on a stage and let you walk out to some music, this is one of those songs that will be in consideration for that moment. And it's from the album Animosity, which is the 3rd album and the 3rd consecutive one for Seven Dust that went gold. It's the song Praise. I absolutely dig this song, and I love the little breakdown late. It's kind of like a little dance part they add in there. It's got a little heavier bass line. If you're unfamiliar with Seven Dust and you're looking to kind of jump in, that's the one. To me, that's the song you look at. So you know what? Hey, these guys are a little bit different. They got a great sound. Number 5 from the album Kill the Flaw. It's one of the later albums. I saw them on this tour. Came out in 2015. Number 2 on the charts. Yeah, great album for them. They've had a couple number 1s too. Black Out the Sun went to number 1. Time Travelers and Bonfires is a compilation album. Kind of some live stuff on there that also went to number 1. And so Kill the Flaw comes after the Time Travelers and Bonfires album and goes to number 2. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive, to say the least. I'm going with the song Thank You, which was the signature single from that album. Number 4, going back to when these guys were really beginning to emerge as a headliner in the rock scene. It's the album Seasons. This is one of my favorite songs from the catalog and one of my favorite songs from this decade, to be honest with you. This century. That's how profound this song is to me, but it's Face to Face. Say it to my face. I love how in your face it is. I love everything about this song. I love the little breakdown late in the song when LeJean kind of whispers to you. I love it. Number 3, from the album Home, the 2nd album, released way back in 1999. These guys have been doing it for a long time. It's the song Denial. And there were a lot of people, too, that thought LeJean Witherspoon was a bit of a novelty. You know, you've got this guy, you got these short-haired white guys out here running around playing guitars with this big, heavy sound, and you've got a black guy here with dreads that doesn't look like he fits. Let me tell you this, LJ fits in every way whatsoever. And I think the Home album really legitimized him as a vocalist, not just because he was a guy that could get out there and kind of yell and scream in your face, because he can actually sing. He's incredible. And I think Denial is a very good representation of his vocal range. Number 2, this is my favorite Seven Dust song. And it actually is from the debut album that came out back in 1997. Long before they were making big money and riding in limos and flying in private jets and all that kind of stuff. This is the one for me. This is the one, even to this day, it holds up. The song is 25 years old since it's been released, and it still absolutely hits. There's so many songs that seem dated from the 90s. Like you put them on, oh, I remember where I was when I heard this. I can't remember every place I've been when I've heard this song because I have heard it probably 1,000 times because I love it. And again, from the self-titled album, Seven Dust, it is the song Black. And when I saw them play in Montgomery, Alabama, when they opened for Shinedown, they opened their set with this. And I honestly, I could have walked out of there after that one song and feel like I'd gotten my money's worth. Incredible. But number one, my favorite Seven Dust album, you may disagree, and that's okay. That's okay. I think it's okay for us to have, I love to hear your favorites because there's some time, maybe I should give this another try. But for Seven Dust, for me, my favorite album, and maybe it's because it came out at kind of a difficult or maybe a transforming time in my life. I was getting ready to kind of wrap up in Baton Rouge and was really wanting to be up here with you guys. And, that took about a year away. But I was really unhappy in Baton Rouge. I was just kind of tired of being there. Life had changed a lot down there. And I just wanted out. And so Cold Day Memory came out. And, it took me a few years to get here. I guess I may have given you the wrong date earlier. But Cold Day Memory is the album. I absolutely love this album. Again, it's one of those that I think you can put on and listen to every single song on this album without having to come up for air. I think you'll absolutely love it. And again, Clint Lowry, the primary songwriter on all this. But I could have gone a lot of different directions here. I could have gone Forever. I could have gone Last Breath. I could have gone Ride Insane, and one of these days I'm going to get a Seven Dust tattoo, and it's going to be after that song, Ride Insane. I've already got an idea of how I'm going to lay it out. I think I know where I want to put it too. But it's the song Unraveling. Unraveling from Cold Day Memory. That's your number one song today. My favorite song from their best album, in my mind, is Unraveling from Cold Day Memory. Be sure and check it out. You'll be glad you did. Enjoy some Seven Dust. Get those fists in the air. All right, let me remind you guys, too, many of you are walking around with substandard cologne. You just are. I'm just going to give it to you straight. We're friends, so we can be honest with each other. I'm not. I'm at another level right now when it comes to cologne, thanks to my friends at Hawthorne.co. That's HAWTHORNE.co. Check them out today. Go take the little quiz. You'll be glad you did. It's very, very easy. You answer questions based on your preferences, and then they tailor cologne for you. How many things in your life are specifically designed for you? Very, very few, right? Well, you can get your work scent, you get your play scent. Maybe you want to be a little more festive, right? Maybe you don't want to be quite as overbearing at work, but maybe you want to make sure you're putting out the right scents. Hawthorne can help you do that. It's HAWTHORNE.co. And use promo code Boneyard. When you visit their site, you'll be glad you did because it's going to save you a little money. How about that? I have it all. I have the shampoo, the conditioner, the lotion, the deodorant, the body wash, the work scent, the play scent. You get it all. I'm telling you, I cannot overstate how important this product is in my life. I wear it everywhere. I get compliments all the time. People say, Steve, what are you wearing? Oh, you smell good. And nothing makes you feel better than that. You look good, you feel good, you smell good, life is good. That's Hawthorne, HAWTHORNE.co. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by your friends at Campus Bookmart. I love Campus Bookmart too. Standing man, Miss Kathy Brown, the lovely, talented Susie, they're like family to me. They'll treat you like family too, because that's the quality of people that they are. Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. Right there on the backside of campus. Be sure and go check them out today. If you can't make it to town, visit them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays, and that's BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $50. Any order less than $50 is absolutely incomplete. A lot of people out there peddling Mississippi State merch. You won't find a better selection or better service than you'll find at Campus Bookmart. Again, that's campusbookmart.net, promo code BSR. All right, busy night in the SEC on Tuesday. I mean, a really, really busy night. Our friends at the University of Georgia, they sustain a tough game with Georgia Southern. 7-2 winners for the Bulldogs there. Eastern Kentucky with a bit of an upset. And here's the thing about Eastern Kentucky. They're kind of quietly putting together, a decent season. They might end up making a tournament. They got a closer that's already got 11 saves. Wouldn't it be great if we had that? 6-3 winners in Lexington last night. That's Eastern Kentucky, the Colonels. They beat us back in the 2016 season. We won the SEC. Missouri, 11-7 winners over Illinois. If you're Missouri, you'll take any win you get, but that's over a Power 5 opponent. So nice win up there for the Tigers. And, of course, your Bulldogs, 10-4 winners. They're at AutoZone Park in Memphis. Vanderbilt, again, the real beefy non-conference schedule. They beat Lipscomb 7-1. Yeah, probably could have pulled 9 kids out of the stands. 7-1 winners, Vanderbilt. They're ranked 9th right now. I am not on the Vandy bandwagon. Will they be a tough team in the regional? Yes, they will. Will they get to Omaha? I don't think so. I don't think they have the pitching, and I think their offensive firepower is a little bit subdued from what it has been. I think we broke them. I really do. And I think Tennessee is going to humble the fine folks from Nashville this weekend. Presbyterian roll into Columbia, South Carolina. Of course, South Carolina, with a big win over the weekend, they take the series from Vanderbilt, and then they lose the midweek game to Presbyterian. Those are the kind of things that just aggravates you if you're a Gamecock fan. It's like, I've kind of given up on the season. I'm pushing for a coaching change. You sucked me back in with a big, unexpected series win, and now I'm back on board, and then you go drop a midweek game to Presbyterian. Those are the kind of things that keep you out of the tournament. So not the best of times in Columbia, South Carolina. I do think Ray Tanner will have to make a coaching change here in the offseason. Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks, roll into Auburn, win that game 5-2. Similar situation. Auburn's off to a pretty good start this year. And then Jayville State, a very solid mid-major program here in the Southeast, goes into Auburn, wins ball game. And to hold Auburn to 2 runs, that's pretty good because Jacksonville State's not throwing their weekend guys in that game. Pretty good effort there from the Gamecocks. South Alabama nearly pulls it off at Alabama. Alabama, of course, struggling a little bit. Still like that team, though. I like their team. They have some interesting pieces. They've just got to find some guys in that bullpen, kind of short things down, kind of sounds familiar. Alabama, a 5-4 winner over the Jaguars of South Alabama. Another very solid G5 program or mid-major program, whatever label you want to put on it. The Jags have built a pretty good tradition down there. And, again, they're getting a lot of players, too, that are getting kind of Mississippi State and Ole Miss interest, but maybe not offers. Florida State, ranked number 5. I don't know if you know this. Maybe you do. Florida State, most appearances in an NCAA tournament without winning the College World Series. And it's become kind of their calling card. It's like everybody talks about, blue bloods and things like that. And they're certainly a blue blood of college baseball, but they are yet to win it all. They go into Gainesville, Florida. The number 14 Florida Gators win 6-3. Big win for the Gators after a tough weekend against LSU. Texas A&M, they're one of these schizophrenic teams too. They go into Austin, Texas, and the eyes of Texas were crying in postgame as the Aggies win 12-9. Texas, a team that has not really been the same since losing Tanner Witt, and we can kind of relate to that too. We're losing Landon Sims. I expected a lot from this Texas team. I still do, but they are underperforming. I don't think there's any question. And then, they get so close last year to playing for a national championship, with top 5 finish, and you return most of your team with the exception of a couple pitchers. And then here you are. Kind of just, you were number 1, and then you had that wild loss, to South Carolina. Again, South Carolina, it's like you got a couple of big wins here, a couple top 10 series wins, but then you can't win in the midweek. And then A&M, they've been kind of up and down too. That'll be an interesting series when we head out to Bluebell Park. Ole Miss destroys North Alabama. You remember North Alabama beat Alabama earlier this year. Ole Miss, 20-3 winners. And, of course, their game against Memphis tonight has been canceled. For some reason, man, Ole Miss and Memphis, the weather's just not cooperating with them. They've already canceled one game. I had somebody tell me last night they had a problem with the tarp and all kind of issues. But Ole Miss, a very loud win from an offensive standpoint. I mean, yes, North Alabama, the Golden Lions, not necessarily a marquee win, but anybody that scores 20 runs in the midweek is feeling pretty good about life. Louisiana Monroe, losers at LSU, 15-4. The Tigers, offensively, last 3 games been absolutely outstanding. They're beginning to find it, and that's Jay Johnson too. Jay is an offensive-minded coach. They are a launch angle coach team. And of course, they're going to score a lot of runs at their place. It will be interesting to see what happens when they come to Starkville. Really, really interesting. And then Little Rock, they go to Arkansas. It's a 16-8 ball game. Arkansas, Little Rock, of course, just down the road there, kind of getting some of those guys that had Arkansas interest that didn't have Arkansas offers. So 16-8 winners for the Hogs as they appear to be swinging the bats pretty well as we get ready to head to Fayetteville. Now tonight, a much more limited schedule, but Arkansas, unless that game has been canceled, and to date it has not, with the weather that's out there, Little Rock back at Arkansas. You expect Arkansas to win the game. We'd love to see Little Rock make them extend some pitching, though. Get in the bullpen a little bit. A 5-game week is difficult to navigate, and the Razorbacks don't have a lot of pitching depth. They're very, very good at their ballpark, but pitching, they're not what they were a year ago. You can't call the cops anymore, and probably good for Kevin Kopps. His arm might have fallen off. Western Carolina will be at Tennessee tonight. That should be a bloodbath. And then Southern Illinois will visit Missouri. Those are your only 3 games tonight involving SEC teams now that the Ole Miss-Memphis game has been canceled. We'll preview the weekend, but let me give you just a quick look ahead here. Your Thursday games, we get started, got a couple series starting on Thursday. Auburn will visit LSU, and then Florida will visit Georgia. Those series get underway on Thursday. And the good thing is they're not all going to be on the streaming apps. You can watch them on your TV without having to go to all the trouble. I know a lot of people have the Roku and all that kind of stuff. We do too, but I know some of our folks end up watching the games on their phones. You won't have to do that with these. The Auburn-LSU series Thursday will open on the SEC network. And then the Florida-Georgia series will open on ESPNU. And real quickly, too, just kind of taking a look to see who's who this weekend. Ole Miss will be at Kentucky. And, of course, Mississippi State at Arkansas. Tennessee will be at Vanderbilt. That's the one everybody's kind of got their eye on. I really think Tennessee is going to win this thing handily. South Carolina will be at Missouri. Again, kind of the roller coaster ride that is being a Gamecock fan. What happens in Mizzou? Beezer and those guys up there at Mizzou, good enough to win a game. They ambushed us last year, if you guys recall. So South Carolina need not show up in Columbia, Missouri, thinking it's going to be a cakewalk. It won't be. A&M, of course, at Alabama, and then Auburn at LSU. So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to get more in depth with that on the Friday show. But pretty excited about kind of where we are in recent weeks. We've kind of begun to figure some things out. It's not as maybe hadn't gone as pleasantly as we'd like for it to go. But looking at the overall SEC records here, too, we're not in SEC play right now. We will be this weekend. But there are a few things that jump out, when you look at this. South Carolina is still the only team in the SEC that doesn't have a winning record. They're 12-12, despite having those 2 very big weekend wins. And we talk about them going to Missouri. South Carolina 0-5 on the road this year. That's the worst in the conference. Alabama, the only team that's anywhere close. They're 1-7, of course, the Sunday win in Starkville, their lone win. Tennessee overall 23-1. Their one loss was a midweek game, kind of inexplicable when you look back in hindsight. Vanderbilt 14-2, but I'm still not buying the Vandy love. Excuse me, they're 20-4. Excuse me. Georgia 19-6. I think they're probably their record maybe not truly indicative of their team. I think they will kind of come back to earth now that we're in SEC play. Florida 18-7, Kentucky 17-9, South Carolina, as I mentioned, 12-12, and Missouri 14-7. I'm sure the guys at Missouri are thinking, hey, we can get these guys. They're a bad road team. It's been very up and down. They're going to be in our neck of the woods. We ought to be able to win that series, and that would be extremely detrimental to South Carolina's chances of making the tournament. They're already up against the wall right now. You lose a series like that to a team that will likely finish 14th in the league, that's going to drag the RPI down the entire year. Arkansas, our friends in Fayetteville, 19-4 overall. 15-2 at home. Now, we're going to talk more about this on Friday, but one of the things that I have always thought about Arkansas, that park plays small to left-handers, and they had a ton of them last year. We've got a lot more this year when we go up there. I think we'll have an opportunity, with Hunter Heinz and Kellum Clark and those guys being able to swing at that shorter porch out in right field. That'll be awfully interesting. And eager to get up there and kind of see the enhancements to the stadium. I know they've done some work here in the last year. LSU 18-7, Auburn 17-8, A&M 15-9, your Bulldogs 16-10. So when you look at it, we're a couple of games out, and you begin to think about the games that we've lost. You already have 10 losses. That's the big number that stands out. You can say, well, if you beat Eastern Kentucky or you beat Northern Kentucky in that Friday game that you blew, you win that Georgia game, all of a sudden, you're 19-7 and nobody's even really complaining that much. Ole Miss 17-7 and Alabama 15-11. So that's where we are right now. All right, taking a quick look at some SEC statistics too. Did you know that Preston Johnson is third in the SEC in strikeouts? You probably didn't know that, did you? Now, our numbers are really good as a team when it comes to strikeouts, but Preston Johnson third and just 4 out of first place. Chase Dollander had a big weekend last weekend against Ole Miss, 54, and Hunter Barco is second. And then there's Preston Johnson right there at 50. So right there, and then we'll see Connor Nolan this weekend at Arkansas. He's 5th in the league at 47. Hitting, this is interesting to me. There's so much about this that, the Sonny DiChiara guy that transferred from Samford to Auburn is absolutely killing it. I mean, absolutely killing it. He was a big, kind of overweight guy. People look at him and say, I don't know. He's hitting 455. And you can say, well, maybe he's not playing a whole lot. No, he's got 66 at-bats. I mean, he doesn't have as much as some of the other guys, his contemporaries in the conference. But when you take that out and you consider that he's got 10 doubles and 7 home runs and 21 RBIs and 66 at-bats, that's absolutely getting it done. Dominic Keegan from Vanderbilt, former first baseman, moved the catcher, hitting 419. Pretty good day for him. Pretty good start to the season, to say the least. So we'll see how things go there. So let's get a little deeper into this thing. Some names that you may be familiar with. Tommy Seidel from this past weekend hitting 363 from Alabama. Had a decent weekend against Mississippi State. You got to go down a good bit, though, to find Cameron James. Mississippi State's leading hitter is hitting 340, a little bit farther down the list. And Cam is a guy, too, that could still work his way into an all-SEC type deal. Another name to kind of think of for this weekend, leading hitter Michael Turner, the catcher from Arkansas. It's like, they get rid of one guy, and all of a sudden there's another one. And that's what you do, when you're a blue blood program like Arkansas. And I think Arkansas is behind Mississippi State in the national pecking order, even though they've had a pretty good run as of late. They're recruiting at a very high level. But, you kind of get it done. Now, looking at home runs, and we got a handful of guys kind of in the mix here. Because sometimes we get caught up in the big maroon bubble, and we don't understand kind of where we are in the national landscape and the southeastern landscape. Okay, so there is a 3-way tie for first place in the SEC in home runs. Trey Lipscomb from Tennessee, Judd Fabian from Florida, and Tim Elko from Ole Miss all have 10. Probably not a surprise to anybody. Lipscomb may be the guy that is maybe the outlier. You look out and you say, man, this guy's having a career type year, and he absolutely is. Hitting 382 with 44 ribbies. That'll get it done. Okay, then you go down a little bit longer. We're only talking 2 spots here. So you got a couple Bulldogs tied for third with 8. They're tied with Chase Eastup from Kentucky, Jacob Berry from LSU, and so it's a 4-way tie there for third. It's a couple of guys ahead of them. But, we're putting some balls in play. Got a couple of guys doing a pretty good job there. Brad Cumbest, of course, just behind there with 7. So not too far off the league lead there, despite the fact that we have had some real issues. Now, another statistic that should jump out at you a little bit here, and I've talked about Hunter Heinz maybe a freshman All-American. He is 4th in the SEC in RBIs. 4th. Got 31. Hitting 312. Of course, got the 8 dingers. 31 ribbies. He's 3 behind Tim Elko, the captain at Ole Miss. Those are some pretty big numbers right there. I mean, and you begin to kind of break this thing down and you begin to realize Hunter Heinz is having kind of a historic season as a freshman at Mississippi State. This guy could put up some huge numbers. I like where he is in the order. Your overall leader, of course, is Trey Lipscomb with 44. But Braden Jobert from LSU, 36, and Elko, 34. And then there's Hunter Heinz. And then there's a bunch of LSU people right behind him. But you kind of get my point. It's like that's kind of quietly happening, and nobody's really talking about it. The number 2 guys on your team, Kelvin Clark and Logan Tanner, got 26. So you got some guys out there that are driving in some runs. No, it's not Cam James. No, it's not really Luke Alexander. But they will get it going. And I think you're seeing Cam James kind of push some things together here as of late. R.J. Yeager with 22 rib. He's kind of right there in the thick of things through too. But that just really jumps out to me that Hunter Heinz, the freshman, the designated hitter, 31. 31 already. And he has 18 walks. I mean, how many times do you see a freshman get walked that often? What's interesting, too, is State has 3, kind of right there near the league leaders in walks. Hunter Heinz, of course, with 18. And then Logan Tanner has 19. That's a sign of maturity. And Luke Hancock with 21. Cole Kaler at A&M has 27. He leads the league. But, you're right there. You're absolutely right there. All of that is interesting to me. It's like we look at the offensive numbers because you're so acutely aware of what's happening, with your own team that you don't always realize what it's like to put it in proper context. Interesting numbers here too. Strikeouts. There's a lot of those, right? You'd say, okay, our leading strikeout guy is Hunter Heinz, and he is well down the list with 22. You can say, well, Steve, that's still a lot. Yeah, Tim Elko is a guy that's an absolute stud at Ole Miss. He's got 26. And there's a lot of that, with power hitters, a lot of swing and miss. People get you on a change, that sort of stuff. But Jacob Plastiak at Kentucky has 38. 38. That's a lot. That's an awful lot. But all that is interesting to me, and I thought we'd point that out today because I think it's important to kind of understand, when you look at things in their proper context, you think, well, how does all this look compared to the rest of the league? Well, here we are. I mentioned the strikeouts earlier. Hits allowed for pitchers. Ironically, the guy from Mississippi State's had the most hits against is Cade Smith. You say, well, Steve, it's a product of pitching a lot of innings. It is. It's also a product, too, to show that that's the guy, too, that once he gets in trouble, can get himself out of trouble. The guy's got a bright future ahead of Mississippi State. He's actually seventh in the SEC in hits allowed among pitchers. Micah Dallas from A&M has the most at 35, tied with Noah Hall from South Carolina. Connor Nolan, guy we're going to see this weekend, he's given up a hit per inning at Arkansas. That's why it's important to work the count and get some guys on base. For sure. There's no doubt about that at all. Opponents' batting average against, of course, there's a lot of guys out here with kind of limited stats. But, we're not going to see a lot of those guys this weekend. The one guy we're going to see, Jackson Wiggins, this is a guy that's not given up much at all. Just 19 hits and 34 innings pitched. He's 4-0 on the year, 6 starts. Done a really good job. Right there, about 2-to-1 strike to walkout ratio, though. But he's getting soft contact. Teams aren't putting a lot of balls in play against him that would cause a lot of issues. So always important to look at those things and kind of take them in their proper context. And, we talk about ERA and that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's about winning. It is simply about winning. And that's where we are. Cade Smith, among the league leaders in ERA, probably, I guess, around 14, 15 there. He and Preston Johnson both right there. Parker Stinnett not too far off the list, too, at 4.67. And so it's like we begin to think, sometimes we compare ERAs in college to what we see in the pros, and it's not necessarily fair. So that's kind of where we are. I just thought we would kind of take a quick look at that just to kind of understand, how our guys are kind of shaping up against the rest. And again, I go back to this Hunter Heinz thing. Enjoy this. He's going to be around a couple years. Should be. The guy's having a pretty special year, and he's kind of quietly doing it. Nobody's even really talking about him. Nobody's like, hey, what about that freshman at Mississippi State? And I suspect as we get a little deeper into the year, you're going to start hearing a lot more buzz about Hunter Heinz. And so that's exciting, and as well it should be. But, again, among the league leaders in RBIs, just as a freshman. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by Portico. Your friends at Portico would love for you to be their neighbors. Many of the people involved in that have a place in Starkville. You could have a place in Starkville, too. Haven't you always wanted to say that? Hey, we got a place in Starkville. As much fun as it is to say that, it's even more fun to actually have it. Starkville is a great place. You can make Starkville your home, make it your retirement community, make it your ball game weekend retreat. You're up here anyway. Instead of having to lug all that tailgating gear back and forth to Jackson or Memphis or Birmingham or wherever you're coming from, why not just go ahead and bite the bullet and move over here? We'd love to have you. I don't want to have to wait for a table at my favorite restaurants, but I want you to be here to enjoy the greater Starkville area. Portico is very easy to get to. You turn off of 82 on a 12 like going to campus. Very first right, Pat Station Road. See how easy and convenient that is? You're 1.1 miles away from Mississippi State. I mean, the only time you lived closer is when you were in college here. Right? Now you don't have to worry about that. You're on the quiet side of campus. We're all getting a little bit older. We got to have the music turned down, by 8 o'clock or whatever. It's not like it was years ago. But Portico can take care of you. If I was moving to Starkville now, I would move to Portico. It's just so convenient. And the construction there is outstanding. Go by and see it yourself. You don't have to go hire a real estate agent. Just pass through the neighborhood. You'll be glad you did. You you take Pat Station Road. You go over Old West Point Road. Boom, there you are, Portico. If you need more information, and I'm certain you do, give Brooks Bryan a call. That's right, the Brooks Bryan, the legend from Mississippi State baseball. 601-416-8075. Again, that's 601-416-8075. You can have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home up to a 4-bedroom, 4-bath home. Phase 1's completely sold out. Phase 2, under development now. Get on board today and make Portico your next move. All right, let's do some basketball stuff before we get out the door here. Weather's on its way. I hope you guys are going to be safe. Mississippi State announced James Miller, associate head coach from New Mexico State, will be joining Coach Chris Jans on the bench. Miller, of course, was considered one of the front runners for the job at New Mexico State. He didn't get the job. Now he's here. So now it makes perfect sense that we would have him here. A guy that's done a great job. And a lot of people say it's just a matter of time before he is a head coach. Does that mean he comes to Mississippi State, stays a year, stays 2? Don't know. What that does mean, if he does become a head coach after a couple of years, he's done another good job here. And so I'm going to go ahead and get out of the gate here now and say this. It is only a matter of time before he is a head coach. And once he is, please don't get into Facebook groups and say, what's wrong? Why would he leave? Well, he's leaving for promotion, right? That's going to happen. This guy is going to be a head coach. Spent 4 years there at New Mexico State. A guy that, a lot of people say, he is Chris Jan's right-hand man. So you get him here, pretty impressive to be able to bring him here. He has spent a lot of time coaching. He was a student manager with Colorado State, got his bachelor's degree, immediately went to work as a coach, immediately. 4 seasons with CSU Pueblo before serving as an intern with Arizona State, and that's right out of college. That's pretty impressive there, too. So a guy, obviously, that has got some time in the junior college ranks. We've talked about how important that junior college experiences are with people that have the portal, because you're recruiting for the short term in many respects. You're trying to build a brand and build a team at the same time. And the way you build a brand, the way you build a program, the way you build better tradition is to put a better team on the floor. And that's where I think the portal can help us do that, almost immediately. And so excited to hear about James Miller. A lot of discussion out there about George Brooks, what's going to happen with him. I talked to Paul Jones a bit earlier today. We kind of compared some notes, and I think there's a possibility that George does end up staying. Not exactly sure how that's all going to shake out. I know that George has a tremendous amount of support among the fan base, and George is one of us. So you'd like to see this work out. And I think, too, having George around, I think it really helps your ability to kind of keep this roster together. Not to mention this recruiting class together. George is a guy that has connections with all these people. You know how it is. Like, I'm at a job, I'm uncertain. All of a sudden, there's a change in leadership. What's my role in all this? And so it would be nice to have somebody that could be able to kind of communicate the vision that you already know and trust. And I think that's where George comes in. So it makes perfect sense to me to keep George Brooks. Of course, Chris Jan's not going to reach out and ask me for my opinion, but I do think that it makes good sense. And I know that George has spoken with Coach Jans. I know that has taken place. Just not exactly sure what's going to take place at this point, but I am leaning towards George being here in some capacity. Just not exactly sure what's going to take place. And I think that is big for Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State fans will be very happy about that. Again, George extremely popular with our fans. And a guy that's been extremely loyal to Mississippi State. And here's the thing, too. We talk about recruiting, and I don't think people fully appreciate how much relationships matter. You can say, well, hey, it's an SEC opportunity, and so they show up. George Brooks can call any AAU coach in the Southeast and perhaps a country, and his number is already saved in their phone. When those guys have players, they know who to contact. So, hey, who do I know at Mississippi State? Oh, I know George Brooks. Because in the college basketball recruiting world, George Brooks' name is synonymous with Mississippi State. Oh, that's my guy at Mississippi State. So keeping him here is huge for Mississippi State. And I do expect that to happen in some capacity. And we'll just kind of see how things progress. But I think that is among the best moves that Chris Jans can make, is finding a role for George Brooks. And certainly expect that to happen. And I think that is big, not just for this year, not just keeping guys out of the portal, but keeping this class together. And then I think, too, you give George, a year or so to, to get George to show some value to Chris Jans. That's pretty incredible, too. David Anwar, of course, is a name that has been mentioned some on the message boards. There was some discussion before. Maybe he wasn't coming. Maybe he was coming. It does appear that he is going to be joining the staff. And so not sure that the full staff comes intact from New Mexico State. But it does appear that Chris Jans is doing a good job bringing the guys with him that understand his system on and off the court, not just what we want to do offensively and defensively, but if Chris wants to hit the ground running, he needs to have some able lieutenants around him that kind of share his vision and know what his expectations are. If Jans has to sit around with a couple new assistant coaches and say, okay, here's how we want to do this. Here's how we want to attack the 1-3-1. Here's what we want to do here. Here's how our pressures work. He didn't have to do a lot of teaching of coaches. They can get to work and start teaching players, and I think that's very significant. So we'll see how things go there. And again, still hearing some rumors out there about some women's assistants. I know Robbie Falk is working some leads there. We have spoken in recent days. And, that's one of the things, too, that I've learned about this assistant coaching thing, too. It's different if their names are being mentioned in connection with a head coaching job. People expect that. But when people hear that this guy may be leaving there, people are a little more reserved, I guess you would say, with sharing that information. Because what if it doesn't work out? What if they pursued this job and then they don't get it and it gets out there publicly, then they have to go back with their tail between their legs, and so it's a difficult circumstance. So people sometimes are a little more guarded with that information, but we're doing our best to get you guys some information over at genespage.com, the Mississippi State affiliate for 247 Sports. All right, thank everybody for your support of Dogpile. It is still available, and it's in stores everywhere. As I mentioned, I'll be out signing books this weekend up in the natural state. Looking forward to getting up there and seeing some family that I have. But here's the deal. If you can't make it, you can still order the books. Go to Dogpile the book, and while you're there, you can get – I get this question all the time. You can get Dogpile, you can get Flim Flam, you can get Stark Villains, you can get Alpha Dogs. All of it's right there. And, of course, Dr. Miller's Turkey book also hosted on our website. So if you're looking to find that book about turkey hunting we've talked about on the show, you can find it there. I mentioned it on the show, and the next day you guys bought 50 books. You guys are incredible. Dr. Miller, of course, was a professor emeritus at Mississippi State, and sadly he passed away before this book was published. And so we're doing our part to maybe help that family sell some of these books, so you can pick that up while you're there. If you're looking for blooms of oleander, and it seems like every book signing that I go to, people are always asking me, hey, Steve, did you bring blooms? And don't have it with me. I got to do a better job of that. Of course, that's part of the issue. I've got a publisher that publishes sports books, so they supply all those things. I don't have to think about it. Sometimes I'm happy to get my laptop, my suitcase in the car. I'm not thinking, about getting blooms. But if you can't find it from me, you can find it in most bookstores around this area. But also too, you can find it on Amazon and booksamillion.com, BarnesandNoble.com. It's available. It's out there. Be sure and check it out. You guys have been incredibly awesome to me. I will do my best to honor my end of that deal and keep being awesome to you. We'll have some big announcements here coming up pretty soon, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. But for now, we're going to kind of keep things where they are. But there's some cool things that are in the future. Let's just say that. Having some conversations. People have said, "Well, Steve, you hadn't been around as much lately." Well, it's because I've been working on some other things that are pretty big. So how about that? A little teaser there for you. So we'll see. May have to hire some people, to represent me. A couple things. If that gives you any idea what we're working on. So we'll see how things go. And I saw that what's interesting. I was leaving Memphis yesterday and ran into a guy that had a Stark Villains hoodie on. And I was like, these are my people. And so thanks for wearing that and repping the brand. If you're looking for Stark Villains gear, you can find it at starkvillains.com. Everybody deserves a Stark Villain shirt. Everybody. And be sure and check that out. Go ahead and do it today. You'll be glad you did. Order something for yourself and just tell your significant other, hey, I got a package coming. Or maybe don't tell them. They can find out when Amazon gets there. Or find out, whatever. Whenever the mailman brings it, you'll have it. Buy them one too. That way they won't complain about it. That's starkvillains.com. Listen, we'll be back on Friday. And again, prepare. I will record that Thursday night so I can get on the road sooner rather than later. Even though it's a night game, I want to get up there and get settled. And it's a bit of a drive, and I love traveling the Southeastern Conference, and I do like Fayetteville. I think Fayetteville is a cool little town. I like that whole area of Northwest Arkansas. I've had a chance to kind of get out and enjoy Bentonville and Rogers and all that stuff, and it's great. Run a race out there before. It's a fun place to be. If you like to be outdoors, Northwest Arkansas is fabulous. So I'm going to get up there and see my grandchild, and then hopefully see the Bulldogs win a series against the Razorbacks. We'll preview that and the rest of the SEC weekend on Friday and probably have some more men's and women's hires by then, I would hope. There's one I'm really confident about, another one not so sure just yet. So we'll get back to you on then. But until then, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.